We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. President Paul Kagame this afternoon received Louise Mushikiwabo at Urugwiro village. Tributes have been pouring in for the deceased Françoise Ntagorama, the founder of La Colombière School. The International Monetary Fund has agreed to extend the duration of a crucial aid package to Somalia following a long overdue presidential election last weekend. Welcome back. News in detail. President Paul Kagame this afternoon received Louise Mushikiwabo, the Secretary General of the International Organization of the Francophone, and her delegation who are in Rwanda on an official visit. Tributes have been pouring in for the deceased Françoise Ntagorama, the founder of La Colombière School. Tate, as many fondly referred to her, died at the age of 82, and her death has left a void in many people's hearts. Ntagorama started her teaching profession back in 1958 at École Ménagerie in Nyanza, but later decided to start her own school. Various Twitter condolence messages have been posted to celebrate her life. The First Lady of Rwanda, Janet Kagame, tweeted, "A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others. Dear Director, you have made a commitment to train several of us. With passion and encouragement, you have preserved us." Zuwa Mutesi praised the late as a pillar of love in her life. Her tweet read, "You are a stronghold to many and made an incredible impact. God blessed me with you as a pillar of life in my life. Although my heart aches and I miss you dearly, I know God called you home to give you peace and rest. Tate, thank you for all you are. Repose en paix, mon ange." Doris Wicheza, a former student and the chief technical advisor at the Ministry of Justice, lauded the deceased for having trained generations of Rwandans. She wrote on her page saying, "Rest in peace, Madame Françoise Ntagorama, who has trained generations of Rwandans from their days as refugees in Burundi in the 1970s to the very young in kindergarten in La Colombière today. May the earth be light to this great lady, this hero." Residents of Gatsibo sector are asking for compensation of their crops, which were destroyed during the construction of Nyagihanga Gatsibo Nyabichwamba water pipeline. Mutetelezina Shifa, intern at Radio Imanzi, has this report.
These residents say they cultivate by renting land, but the problem is that they do not have title to the land. When they request the documents from the property owners, they also demand a percentage of their compensations. My problem is that they dug up my land while constructing the water pipelines. There were peanuts, maize crops, and beans planted, but I do not own the title to the land. Even after destroying our crops, they have not compensated us. We are being affected economically because we used to sell our produce and solve our problems. But now we cannot sell anything because they destroy our crops. The executive secretary of Gatibo sector said a meeting will be scheduled with landowners and property owners who rent their land so that those who rent it can be compensated.
Moving on ahead, the Rwanda Biomedical Center has announced that the tasting site of Camp Kigali village has been closed as part of the Commonwealth Heads of Governments meeting preparations. However, Gikondo RBC will be working on providing PCR tests, while the antigen rapid test will be performed in various health facilities. This development comes following the mandatory lift of wearing face masks in public as prevention against COVID-19 pandemic. Apart from Camp Kigali, other venues set to host the different Kagame events include Kigali Convention Center, Intare Conference Arena, Kigali Marriott Hotel, M Hotel, and Serena Hotel. The United Nations Development Programme in Rwanda and the European Union has signed a funding agreement worth €8 million to expand the socio-economic opportunities for the youth. Through the Ministry of Youth and Culture, this support will enable the government of Rwanda to harness innovation and creativity for youth-led businesses. Mutetelezina Shifa with this report.
This unique program will accompany young entrepreneurs through the process of developing business idea, refining their business model, launching a startup company, business expansion, and ultimately maturation of the enterprise. Miriam Ferrani, the Deputy Director General at the European Commission, Directorate General for International Partnership, said the cooperation will focus on addressing the gaps and strengthening the synergies in the full cycle of SMEs development, provide a comprehensive and effective support to young entrepreneurs launching their own companies. Many young people's business fail to take off because of post-incubation gaps, such as lack of technical, management, and financial support for innovative startups. Through this program, UNDP and the European Union are closing identified gaps, especially in post-COVID-19 periods. The Minister of Youth and Culture, Rosemary Mbabas, described the occasion as an essential opportunity to scale up the impact of youth-led enterprise. She noted that as we embrace the 10th anniversary of Youth Connect initiative, they are looking back to the past with much confidence of socio-economic impact brought to young people. Together with strategic partners such as UNDP, they are looking forward for more impact, positioning young-led enterprise as important contributors to the private sector's development.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Welcome back. The third edition of the Women's Marathon of Côte d'Ivoire has been launched and will take place in Abidjan this Saturday. Commissioner General of the Marathon Organization, Danita Tonga, says the marathon will cover some towns in the interior of the country, and the event will allow municipalities to create jobs and help women in terms of health. She noted that at each marathon, lives have been saved because cancers have been detected very early. The women are monitored and advised by health workers. In addition, partners give free training on women's health and empowerment and leadership. More than 10,000 participants are expected at the marathon in 4 categories. veterans, seniors, cadets, and minims. Dignitaries such as the Minister of State, Kantia Kamara, and French and Malian backing up delegations are also expected at the sidelines. The United Kingdom has officially endorsed Jamaica's Foreign Minister, Ms. Kamina Johnson-Smith, for the post of the Commonwealth Secretary General. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, whose government is the current chair of the Commonwealth, announced the endorsement on his Twitter page, saying that his government supports Ms. Johnson's candidature. The endorsement comes as a major boost for the Jamaican who is seeking to replace the current Secretary General, Baroness Patricia Scotland, who is seeking a second term. The government of Egypt has launched a new national strategy for tackling climate change. The Prime Minister said climate change is considered one of the most important issues that concern Egypt and the whole world due to the threats on sustainable development, which will affect the development plan, food security, and water availability. He noted that Egypt was one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, hence the introduction of the National Climate Change Strategy 2050. Sri Lanka's Prime Minister has warned of a food shortage as the nation battles a devastating economic crisis and promises to buy enough fertilizer for the next planting season to boost harvests. A decision in April last year by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to ban all chemical fertilizers drastically cut crop yields, and although the government has reversed the ban, no substantial imports have yet taken in place. The International Monetary Fund has agreed to extend the duration of a crucial aid package to Somalia following a long overdue presidential election last weekend. The 3-year $400 million aid package from the IMF had been previously said to automatically expire on May 17th if a new administration was not in place by then, with multiple election delays adding to the heavily indebted country's turmoil. However, the IMF Executive Board has accepted the Somali government's request for a 3-month extension until August 17th, giving newly elected President Sheikh Hassan Mohamud's government time to examine and endorse planned reforms. The United States President Joe Biden has arrived in South Korea on the first leg of an Asia tour aimed at reinforcing Washington's commitment to the Indo-Pacific region. After a 3-day visit that includes a summit with his South Korean counterpart, Biden will leave for Japan on Sunday for talks with Japanese Prime Minister. President Biden will also convene a summit of the leaders of the Quad grouping, which includes the US, Japan, India and Australia in Tokyo, and launch the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, an agreement that seeks to set standards on supply chains, worker protections, decarbonization and anti-corruption.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi.
The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 10,200,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in one deal on the fixed income market and 1,251,500 Rwandan francs from 13,600 shares traded in 5 deals on the equities market. M10 Rwanda closed the counter at 179 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 268,500 Rwandan francs from 1,500 shares traded in one deal. Bank of Kigali closed the counter at 260 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 260,000 Rwandan francs from 1,000 shares traded in two deals. I&M Bank closed the counter at 43 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 387,000 Rwandan francs from 9,000 shares traded in one deal. Bralirwa closed the counter at 160 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 336,000 Rwandan francs from 2,100 shares traded in one deal. Simerwa closed the counter at 120 Rwandan francs. Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs. National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs, Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. Now, the currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.6 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 8.8 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.27 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 0.28 Rwandan francs. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 0.5 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,011 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 1,031 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,260 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 1,285 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,070 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 1,091 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.